Hello students, welcome to another week of art. I'm so excited to create with y'all and to learn more about artistic approaches and artists. For today's assignment, it will be due tomorrow. You are going to go on a virtual field trip with me to the Umlauf Sculpture exhibit in Austin, Texas. So just close to Elgin here, over in Austin. It's named Umlauf because a lot of the sculptures in the sculpture garden are by artist Charles Umlauf. I don't go as much into him as an artist. We're gonna talk a lot about one specific element of art. That will be one of your questions to tell me what element of art I talk about the most. And there's just gonna be a few other questions you need to answer as you watch the video. I hope you enjoy the beautiful scenery and the beautiful sculptures I videoed for y'all on this first virtual art trip. Sorry, scratchy throat. I look forward to seeing your answers, and as always, feel free to email me if you have any questions. Enjoy!
All right, students, if you see those sculptures, they're a little sneak peek of what we're about to go into for our virtual field trip. This is the Sculpture Garden in Austin, and we're about to meet one of the other art teachers at the entrance. All right, students, so our first statue is called the Spirit of Flight, and it's made out of bronze. It was created in 1959. And Spirit of Flight. It's got some beautiful scenery surrounding it. Here in the entryway. And then we've got another one over here. Another gal made of bronze. Reclining figure. This one was just made a year later than the one. And the thing about sculptures, y'all, remember, they're not 2D, they're 3D. So viewing it from all angles is one of the joys of getting to see sculptures as opposed to painting. As we keep walking, there's more sculptures that end up just popping up around. Another large bronze one up there. Let's see what that one's called. This one is Piete, made in 1945 out of bronze. And this one is called the Refugees Number 2, made in 1945. So it seems like, if you guys have noticed, the 1940s to the 1960s were a big era where they created a lot of these bronze sculptures. As we go into more open spaces, we'll stumble upon even more statues. Like one right over here that I just noticed. Looks like it's a man on a donkey. You can read about that one here. Entrance to Jerusalem, 1953. Let's check out this one. This one's just called Family. Not just, it's called Family, which is pretty awesome. Family happening here. Got several other sculptures all the way over here. This one is called Mother and Child, 1972. See how long and slender it is? Some of the others have had rougher textures, and this one has some little rough spots just over time because it was created in 1972. But in general, there's a lot of smooth texture to this one. We've got Pieta over here, Piete. I believe it's in French. Got another sculpture here. This one's called the Torch Bearers, and it was, as you notice too, a lot of the art pieces are sponsored. by an organization here in Austin, which is awesome. We love it when our community supports the arts and artists. And then if you haven't noticed that busy road, we're right in Austin, and so it's very accessible to come here if you ever want to come here on your own. This is another cool sculpture. Ooh, it's just an angel wing, 1981. That's cool, a giant angel wing. Let's check out the other side of this angel wing. See all the texture in the wing here? Even though it's a little more flat than some of the other sculptures, you'll notice it's still very three-dimensional. They didn't leave one side unfinished. Little sculpture there, right in the middle of nature. So, as you guys are starting to notice, there's a lot of art spaces that are indoor, but this art space is outdoors, so there's a lot of different ways to display art. We'll head over to that sculpture there. There's one there in the middle. Look at all the cool water around it. And so even just the placement of these sculptures, y'all, makes such a difference, because it really sets the tone and a mood. So this piece is called Lazarus. If you guys are starting to notice, if you know anything about the Bible, a lot of these characters are from the Bible. Before I saw the name of this sculpture, I thought it was just like a really skinny, kind of unhealthy looking man. But the story of Lazarus is that he was raised from the dead. And so if you imagine somebody who was no longer alive and then came to life again, they probably would look really unhealthy and skinny, right? If they had already died. And so it makes sense. Just to give you an idea, if you have some sort of an illustration or story behind your art, things that you can do to really make it match the story. Like for instance, he looks really thin and like he may have been dead and came back to life. And how they did that was they really pinched in the bronze. They gave it a pinch right there, made it fuller there, but then it made it look like the skin isn't full, like there's no fat, and really just tight around the bone with the bronze. Obviously there's not real bone, but just the bronze sculpture of bone, an idea of that. Alright, so we're now in an opposite direction of this pond. Remember how I gave you a little sneak peek of this gal and her baby? I'll go up closer there. But look how purposefully the art museum gave you some nice seating here. It's great seating for multiple people to sit at, but it's also a similar shape to a cross. So again, no matter what religion you are, this is just telling stories of the Bible to give you an idea of the narrative and storytelling that they're trying to go about. And then look how interesting this looks with the water behind it. So that's the cool thing about sculpture, you guys, is each time or each view you look at it makes it a whole new art piece and gives it a new mood. And then depending on the weather of the day, it's nice and sunny today, so that makes a lot of these sculptures seem really happy and light. But imagine if you came on a cloudy day, how that would change the mood and the coloring of some of these sculptures. Now this one is Prometheus. This is, I think, a Greek mythology, a character from Greek mythology. Prometheus with, I think it's an eagle. Look at all the movement happening. And all the details made out of that sculpture. So this is an installation sculpture, y'all. It's one that you can interact with. So I'm gonna go ahead and walk through it. Even duck down and go through this one. And so it's one you can interact with, but it also has a really cool design from different angles that you view it from. And another bronze sculpture here. Now, in some of the other pieces, you would have seen more of a three-dimensional piece sticking out, but do you see how the artist here chose to make the necklace engraved? So that would have meant he carved into the bronze, or the cast that he made a bronze with, to make that necklace. And then you can see some rigid lines, but each rigid piece for her dress is still smooth in and of itself. But you get a lot of different textures with this one, which is really cool. So if y'all are starting to notice, one of our big element of art words that I'm using for this one is texture. Can you point out some different textures to me that you see? There's bumpy, scraped looking, jagged. There's a lot of different words for texture that we can use. And this one's called St. Francis with birds. Again, part of the story with this man was that he loved animals. He was apparently a man who was known to love animals, and so you see the birds right there. But then it was very fitting, they then placed a bunch of animal sculptures all around. So as you guys are starting to notice, art, a lot of times art is very intentional and purposeful. And whether you like it or not, that's fine. You don't have to like it or even agree with how they place things, but just wanting to share with you how it's very purposeful and intentional. Y'all see even just the texture on this rhino? How great is that? Let's go check out this elephant. Or no, sorry. It's a wild boar. Oh! Looks like an elephant at first. I just saw the tail. Wow, look at all the texture on that boar. That's really incredible. We'll come check out this rooster. How fun is that little rooster, y'all? I just love all the texture on these animals. Animals are a great way to show texture. Like this would have feathers, so the little curved lines show the idea of feathers. The wild boar would have scratchy fur, and so those jagged lines represent scratchy fur. Something you can feel, remember that's what texture is. We've got this cute little hippo here. Now when you think of a hippo, what do you think of texture-wise? I think that, you know, there's obviously some wrinkles, and then it would be really tough and hard, but probably relatively smooth. I could be completely wrong about that because I've never seen a hippo in real life. So that's just what I'm thinking. We'll move on to see a couple more animals here, and then we'll move on to another space. This one's called Beast of Burden, but it looks like a donkey. A nice little donkey going on here. And we'll move on to one more animal. This one is a young horse. Ooh. With that movement of the neck and how the neck is placed, can y'all just imagine this horse neighing really loud? the way that it looks like his neck is straining, just imagine. It seems like this horse would be neighing really loud with that kind of a movement. This piece here is called the skater. Looks like someone who's ice skating, looks like a girl ice skating. And look, do you see how the artist placed the arms? Even just moving the arms away from the direction her head is tilting creates movement and the idea that she's in motion, even though this object is not in motion. Just the placement and how he placed the arms and bent the legs gives you the idea that she's moving. And the artist even chose some nice scraped textures to make it look like ice being carved into from her ice skates. This one here is called Mother and Child. And we've seen a lot of full figured sculptures, but see how this one is just the head of the child and then the shoulder, neck, and head of the mother. And you can see they placed the child's head when they created it. They placed it to lean so it would look like it was looking up at the mother. What kind of emotion do you think she's expressing here with that kind of face? To me, she looks a little tired, but maybe that's just because the eyebrows kind of are curled in, but maybe you think she has another emotion. What do you think it looks like she's feeling like in this sculpture, y'all? This one is called Poetess. Do you guys know what poetess is? It would be a female who writes poems. So she's a poet, but a poetess is a female version of a poet. Again, seeing all the texture. It almost looks like she's doing kind of an ab exercise, right? With her tummy crunched in and holding her upper body. All the textures in the dress and the line work. Look at that. Do you see how these lines in this stone create a sense of texture and drapery as though it's fabric, even though it's not? Whoa, look at this beautiful gold texture, y'all. It's actually just baby little tiles.
It looks like a dragon scale.
Ah, it totally looks like dragons.
Katie here. I miss you guys so much. I miss you. I'm gonna come visit. I will come visit.
Do it. And then we come around, and this building is like a full sculpture, actually. Isn't that neat, y'all?